You sit down to read something you care about, maybe an article, maybe the book that's been on your nightstand for 3 weeks. Your eyes move. The words are there, but somewhere in the second paragraph, something drifts. You're not tired. You're not distracted by anything specific. It's just slower than it used to be. And at some point, you stop noticing when that started. That's not normal aging. That's a damaged input system. And there are 11 habits quietly making it worse. The first one is what your hand does before your feet hit the floor. Most people don't decide to reach for their phone in the morning. It just happens. But Dr. Anna Lemke, psychiatrist at Stanford, who has spent years researching how dopamine functions in the modern brain, found that repeated early exposure to high stimulation content resets your brain's reward baseline before the day even begins. You spend the rest of the day chasing a level of stimulation your brain already consumed at 6 a.m. Everything else feels flat, not because your day is empty, but because your threshold moved. The second habit is the one you probably don't think of as a habit at all. You can't drive without audio, can't eat without a screen. If a room goes quiet for more than 3 minutes, something itches. That's not personality, that's conditioning. Dr. M.K. Kirsta at Duke University found in 2013 that 2 hours of silence per day actually stimulated the development of new brain cells in the hippocampus, the region most connected to memory and learning. Your brain doesn't regenerate in noise, it regenerates in quiet. If quiet makes you uncomfortable, you've accidentally trained yourself out of the one state where restoration happens. The third habit, you spend an hour watching someone else build something, a documentary about people who made things, a podcast about creativity, and at the end of it, you make nothing, you write nothing. Research published in the journal Thinking Skills and Creativity found that sustained passive consumption without any production on the other end progressively reduces what researchers call generative thinking capacity. Your brain is designed to build. When it only receives the circuits it built things with start to atrophy from disuse. The fourth habit feels like discipline. You call it managing your workload. Your brain calls it something else. Dr. Sophie Leroy at the University of Washington coined the term attention residue, the cognitive echo that stays behind every time you switch tasks. When you flip between your email, a conversation, a report, and a notification, each switch leaves residue. Your brain never fully arrives at any of them. Over months of this, the threshold for sustained attention lowers, and you stop noticing because the lower threshold starts to feel normal. The fifth habit is about what you fill your idle moments with. Every gap gets plugged. Waiting in line, phone. 5 minutes before a meeting, scroll. Sitting in traffic, podcast. What you're eliminating is your brain's default mode network, the system that activates during rest to process emotional experience, consolidate memory, and generate original thought. Dr. Mary Helen Imordino Yang at USC found that suppressing mind wandering through constant stimulation impairs how humans develop meaning and self-understanding. Boredom isn't a gap, it's a function, and you've been canceling it before it can run. The sixth, you've stopped reading deeply. Not just books, anything that requires sustained attention across more than 3 paragraphs without reaching for something else. Dr. Marianne Wolf, cognitive neuroscientist at UCLA, found that the neural circuits built through deep reading for complex inference, critical analysis, and what she calls empathetic imagination require regular activation or they weaken. These circuits don't disappear, they go quiet from disuse. And a brain that can't sustain reading also can't sustain the kind of thinking that reading trains. The seventh habit isn't about sleep deprivation, it's about irregularity. You might be getting 7 hours, but at 11 p.m. one night and 2 a.m. the next. Neuroscientist Macon Nedergaard at the University of Rochester identified what's called the glymphatic system, the brain's overnight cleaning mechanism. During deep regulated sleep, it flushes the metabolic waste that accumulates during the day. When your sleep schedule keeps shifting, the process doesn't complete. The debris accumulates. Cognitive fog is often the visible symptom, not of being tired, but of a brain that didn't finish cleaning. But here's something I need you to sit with for a moment. How many of these habits do you recognize not as accidents, but as choices you keep making? Because some of this is modern life, but some of it is avoidance. The noise, the scrolling, the constant input. Sometimes it's easier than being alone with whatever your brain actually has to say. Only you know which one is running this for you. Habit 8, notifications. Research by Dr. Gloria Mark at the University of California, Irvine found that after being interrupted by a single notification, the average person takes over 23 minutes to return to the original task at full cognitive capacity. Most people receive 80 to 100 notifications per day. You're not getting a single hour of uninterrupted focus, and somewhere along the way you accepted that without making a decision about it. The ninth habit you take in more information than any human in history was asked to process, and most of it goes nowhere. Psychologist James Pennebaker at UT Austin found that translating experience into language, articulating it, writing it down, synthesizing it measurably improves both cognitive processing and long-term retention. It's not about journaling as a ritual. It's about a compression step your brain needs. Without it, what you consume stays raw. It's input that never becomes understanding. The 10th habit is the one that's hardest to see because it feels like thinking. You replay conversations. A comment someone made 2 weeks ago. A meeting that went sideways. Your brain runs the scenario again, slightly different each time, looking for something it won't find that way. One man described sitting in his car for 40 minutes after leaving work, running the same exchange on a loop. What he said, what she said, what he should have said. He finally just drove home. I wasn't solving anything, he said. I was just stuck. Psychologist Susan Nolan Hoeksema at Yale found that repetitive thought patterns, what she called ruminative response styles, are among the most reliable predictors of cognitive rigidity over time. It feels like processing. It's your brain spinning in neutral. The 11th habit is the most straightforward. Your brain doesn't sit apart from your body. When you're sedentary for more than 6 to 8 hours, your brain produces significantly less BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, what Dr. John Rady at Harvard Medical School calls the brain's growth hormone. Even 20 minutes of moderate movement measurably increases focus, retention, and cognitive flexibility. This isn't about fitness. It's about neurochemistry. You can't think at full capacity from a chair you never leave. If you're a man watching this, particularly in your late 30s or 40s, something specific needs to be said. Most of these habits stay invisible longer for men because you've learned to function through discomfort. The fog builds, but you power through it. You don't call it decline, you call it a busy season, which means you catch this later than you should, not because you're less aware, because you've been trained to mistake endurance for performance. Follow for more on the psychology of quiet intensity. Your brain is not broken. It's been adapting to whatever you consistently gave it. Give it noise, it stops tolerating silence. Give it shallow, it loses depth. Give it interruption, it stops sustaining attention. None of that is permanent, but none of it reverses on its own. The same wiring that built everything you have, it's still there. You just have to point it somewhere worth building. Which of these 11 habits hit closest to home for you? Drop it in the comments. And if someone in your life has been wondering why their thinking feels slower than it used to, send this to them. Sometimes just having a name for it changes something.